Another smackdown of the books tonight. 2 weeks till SummerSlam. The show wasn't too bad. I mean, there was some down points about it, but I'm not gonna sit on here and rant and rave and call the show trash or say it sucked, and I'm not gonna disrespect the viewers to this wrestling podcast by calling you geeks and morons like somebody else in the IWC does. He that shall not be named. But yeah, it opened up with the WWE United States title invitational fatal four-way. LA Knight versus Sheamus versus uh, Cameron Grimes versus Rey Mysterio. Uh, it started out a really well match. Yeah, you've got LA Knight doing a promo when he's coming down the ring, saying how he's going to beat everyone in the match. Unfortunately, he did not win the match. You have Rey Mysterio who won the match, and he won the match with a Hurricane Rana. Yeah, at one point, it looked like LA Knight was going to win the match until Mysterio broke up the pinfall. But see, here's the thing. Santos Escobar won the Fatal 4-Way last week. And now this week, Rey Mysterio won. So you're going to have LWO versus LWO next week. Is Santos Escobar going to turn heel after the match? Or is he going to remain babyface? And Rey Mysterio tried to throw Cameron Grimes into Austin Theory, who was sitting at ringside. Austin Theory started beating up on Rey Mysterio. So Santos Escobar came running down to the ring to help out his LWO stablemate, and he started beating up on Austin Theory. And then Austin Theory got mad and said that he felt disrespected because Santos Escobar butted into his business. So Adam Pearce was going to make it for the U.S. title, and Austin Theory was like, no. He didn't deserve a title match, so they made it for a non-title match, for later on in the show. And then you had Carmelo Hayes backstage and Trick Williams, who was talking with Bobby Lashley. So they're teasing the Hurt Business coming back, and it could quite possibly be Bobby Lashley, the Street Profits, and Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes. So a 5-man group. And the next match on the card was Charlotte Flair versus Io Sky. Now, see, originally it was supposed to be Io Sky versus Zelina Vega, but apparently Zelina Vega contracted COVID. So they just went ahead and put Charlotte Flair in there with Io Sky, and it was there was some clunky parts up to the match. I will say that. But Io, looked really good in the match. Charlotte Flair was kind of clunky, like she was holding back during the match. And Bayley got involved in the match. And then it goes to the Titantron of Shotzi, acting all deranged, from like last week with her cutting her hair for her sister, who has cancer. And Bayley looked all concerned. So Bayley left Io Sky, and Io Sky was hollering at Bayley, come back, I need your help. And Bayley just walked out on Io Sky because she looked freaked out because of the video package of Shotzi. Now, I was talking to my brother today, and he said the vignette with Shotzi looked like a Bray Wyatt or Alexa Bliss vignette, and he asked me, "Do you think that she's gonna be involved with Bray Wyatt?" I'm like, dude, I don't know. I said, I don't even know if Bray Wyatt's coming back, even though he sent a tease out on his Twitter during SmackDown. But yeah, we go back to the ring, and out comes Charlotte Flair back to commercial. Back from break, Cole hypes Flair and Bianca Belair versus WWE Women's Champion Asuka at SummerSlam. We see NXT Women's Champion Tiffany Stratton in the front row. Out next comes Io Sky with Bayley. Io is carrying her Money in the Bank briefcase. Tonight's Progressive Match Flow replay looks at how Sky almost cashed in during Bella versus Asuka last week. But I know why they had all these NXT stars on. It's because they were in Orlando, home of the Performance Center and home of NXT. Sky hangs in there and mounts offense, nailing a big springboard missile drop kick from the apron. Flair kicks out at 2. Flair sends Io out, but she fights back to the apron. Flair knocks Io off the apron with a big boot. They go back and forth now, then unload on each other with big chops. Io ends up hitting a head scissors as we go to commercial. Back from break, and Bayley yells at Flair as Flair brings Io back in rocks Io, but misses a big stomp to the leg on the ropes. Io was running double knees for a 2. Flair with a belly-to-belly back suplex. Then trade more strikes. Flair mounts kicks and chops Io. Goes for a crossbody, but Flair catches her and hits a fallaway slam. Typical android Charlotte Flair. And then Flair goes on to hit a backbreaker and more offense, but Sky kicks out as Bayley cheers her on. Flair misses a corner splash, but Sky misses an attack. Flair slams her face into the turnbuckle as Bayley screams for Io to do better. Bayley ends up providing a distraction, but Flair kicks out of Io's sit-out powerbomb. Shotzi suddenly appears on the big screen, saying Bayley's name with a maniacal laugh. And scissors. Bayley is spooked and says she can't be out there. Bayley runs away as Io calls her name. Flair ends up going for a spear, but she hits the turnbuckle when Io moves. Io goes up top for the moonsault, but Flair moves. Flair goes up top for a moonsault, which looked clunky as hell. But Io gets her boots up. Io takes Flair down with a cross-face submission now. They tangle on the mat and trade 2 counts. Flair hits the natural selection and wins the match. Now, the next match is Santos Escobar versus Austin Theory, which the match didn't last all that long. Yeah, Santos Escobar got some decent amount of offense in. Theory came back, and came back for a minute or two, and then Santos hit the Phantom Driver and pinned Theory 1-2-3. Yeah, which I don't understand this. Dominic Mysterio is a Raw superstar. He had a match against Wes Lee on Tuesday for the North American title. He ended up winning the title from Wes Lee, who's been a dominant champion, and the longest reigning NXT North American champion, 289 days. Well, Dominic couldn't win on his own. Here comes Finn Balor. Here comes Damian Priest, and then Mommy Rhea Ripley blasts Wes Lee in the head with her belt. So why is a main roster guy going down to the developmental, winning a developmental title, and then defending it on SmackDown against Butch? Can anyone tell me the logic in that? I'm not gonna rant and rave like another podcaster here in the IWC. I'm not gonna call Monday Night Raw or Friday Night SmackDown a shitty show or a sucky show. If you feel it's that way, then why watch it? Then why go through the pains of putting your podcast on if you hate WWE so much, and you have Vince McMahon derangement syndrome? If you don't fucking like it, don't fucking watch it. Now, seriously, if you're going to come on to this platform and say you're number one in the IWC, and all you do is you yell and scream at the people on your podcast, call them geeks and morons and marks, and everyone in the IWC ought to know who I'm talking about. He's the most hated wrestling podcaster in the IWC. But yeah, I'm not going to rant about him, even though he likes to rant and say he don't give two fucks of what people thinks about him. Okay, WWE United States Champion Austin Theory versus Santos Escobar. Back from the break, we see Bayley and Io Sky in the locker room. Bayley's luggage has been damaged, and there's a pair of scissors stabbed into a photo on the bag. Bayley rushes Io Sky out, and they leave. We go back to the ring, and out comes Santos Escobar as Theory looks on. They lock up, and Santos unloads with punches. Theory looks to mount offense, but Santos drop kicks him. Theory sent Santos into the turnbuckle, but then kicked away Theory with a superplex for 2. Santos with a head scissors takedown, but Theory comes right with a kick and a big DDT for 2. They continued trading offense until Santos clotheslined Theory over the top, then went for a suicide dive, but Theory moved. Santos lands hard as we go back to commercial. More back and forth after the break. we now see how Theory hit the rolling drop kick during the commercial. Santos fights back and hits a suicide dive to send Theory into the announce table. Santos brings it back in and unloads with offense. Santos with a crossbody for a close 2 count, like really close 2 count. Theory blocks the Phantom Driver and levels Santos for 2. Theory hits the Uranagi, but Santos kicks out. They go on, and Theory looks to finish Santos off, but Santos counters and nails a drop kick. They fight it out on top turnbuckle until Santos hits a Hurricane Rana, and then the running double knees into the Phantom Driver for the pin. I love Santos Escobar, and I love the Lucha Libre style of wrestling. But I still kind of wonder why they have Rey Mysterio, who's the leader of the LWO, versus Santos Escobar, who's also in the LWO. That match don't make no sense to me. 2 baby faces going at it, unless Santos is going to turn heel after the match. That's the only way to do it. That's the whole story right there. That's another level of storytelling. North American title match, Butch versus Dominic. And I watched that match. Butch basically carried Dominic the whole match. Dominic's too green to be champion. I mean, yes, it's a huge achievement to get your first championship, but he's so green. Him and Rhea Ripley, they make a good power couple. They make a good duo. Just like him and Damian Priest and him and Finn Balor. But take those 3 away, he's as green as baby shit. Like, seriously, he's like really, really green. And his moves are clunky, and he's tall. He's trying to do these luchador maneuvers. He's trying to do the 619. The 619's clunky. Maybe he just needs to do a hard reset on his moves. I mean, yes, he's the number 1 heel in the company, but still, his moves are clunky and he can't carry a match. Like Tuesday night, Wesley carried that match. And, Wesley was screwed out of the title. Dominic's is supposed to take on Mustafa Ali at the Great American Bash. I seriously think they need to do a triple threat. Wesley, Dominic, and Mustafa Ali. They seriously do. Hey, we go back to the ring, and out comes the NXT North American Champion Dominic Mysterio with WWE Women's World Champion Rhea Ripley. That was just a whole clunky match. Butch stomps Dominic, allows Dominic, tries to fight, but Butch takes him down and works on the fingers. Dominic gets to the rope to break it. Dominic drops Butch over the top rope to stun him. Ripley runs over and places a steel chair in Dominic's hand. Ripley distracts the referee, but Holland runs down and prevents Dominic from using it. Butch nails the enziguri for a close 2 count as we go back to commercial. Back from break, Dominic launches himself in from the apron for a 2. Dominic mounts Butch with punches, then applies a headlock. Pretty Deadly comes out, and yes, last week, Ridge Holland injured one of the members of Pretty Deadly. Now with Kit Wilson pushing Prince in a wheelchair, which is odd as he has a shoulder injury. Butch unloads on Dominic with offense now. Butch with a big right and a stiff kick. Butch misses a stomp. Dominic goes for the 619, which he shouldn't do. He's too big, he's too clunky to do that. But Butch sidesteps and hits a German suplex with more offense for 2. Wilson with a cheap shot, but Holland gets involved. Kit backs away as Holland and Butch stare him down at the bottom of the ramp. Prince then jumps up out of his wheelchair. I don't even know why he was wearing a wheelchair anyway. And runs away with Holland chasing them. Butch goes back to the apron, but Dominic kicks him. Dominic distracts the referee, allowing Ripley to clip Butch's knee from behind. Dominic then rams Butch into the ring post head first and dumps him back into the ring for the pin and retain. After the match, Mysterio and Ripley celebrate as we go to replays. Yeah, that was the most god-awfulest match I've ever seen. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Dominic needs to go back to NXT for a while. I mean, yes, he's the NXT North American Champion. I think they need to take him and that championship, put him on NXT for, say, a year. I know he's been in since like 2020, but he's not getting any better in the ring. Like, Finn Balor carries him when he's in the ring with him. Damian Priest carries him when he's in the ring with him. Dominic does not have a good match without them. Every opponent that Dominic's faced has carried him. And every partner has carried him. Now, we're having the rules of engagement for Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Jey waits in the ring, the music hits, and out comes the undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns. Answer me why he has the big gold belt, but he still carries the other 2 belts around. Can someone please answer me that? He's the undisputed champion, but yet he has his little slimy lackey in the corner, Paul Heyman, still carrying his belts. And you have Solo Sikoa and Paul Heyman standing in the corner. Roman Reigns does the whole acknowledge me thing. Jey looks heated as what's left of the bloodline heads to the ring, which is set up with a red cover. and the table for contract signing. Jay snarls at Reigns, nods his head at his cousin. Reigns takes the mic and calls on Orlando to acknowledge him. Reigns and Jay sit at the table, while Solo and Heyman stand with no sign of Adam Pearce. Reigns asks what's up, little Jay. Do you still want to do this? Jay says yes. He's supposed to. Reigns is making him do this because Reigns called a shot, and now his brother Jimmy Uso is in the hospital. Jay says, now I got to get you. Roman fans pop. Jay says he has no other choice. Reigns laughs and calls him Little Jay, and says Jay won't get him because Jay... he says Jay won't get him because Jay is just a soldier and a pawn in the game. Fans chant Uso. Now Reigns goes to sign the contract as Heyman hands him a pen. Reigns does not like the chants, but he slides the contract to Jay. Heyman takes the pen back. Jay is about to sign now, but he rips the contract up and says they don't need a contract because their contract is in the blood. This is tribal combat now. Reigns asks if the elders know about this. Jay says it was their idea. Jay goes on and says he can do what he wants. This is anything goes. Reigns stands up and he's heated as he tells Orlando to shut up. Reigns orders Jay to shut his mouth because the tribal chief is talking. Reigns says, don't act like this is my first rodeo. Like, hasn't ran the business for a decade now. Reigns positions his title belts on the table. He says this means nothing to him. It's done. Let's go. Jay repeats himself. I said this is tribal combat now. Jay sits the mic down. Reigns looks a bit shocked as he removes his lei. Heyman yells, no. Jay stares Reigns down as another chant of the Usos starts up. Reigns places the red lei on the title belt on display, and Jay and Roman look down at the title, and then they meet in the middle of the ring. They shake hands and they hold the embrace, then touch foreheads with each other. They then back away and stare each other down. Reigns did block a Samoan spike from Solo, and then Jay kicked Solo with a super kick, and that's how SmackDown went off the air. I mean, it was all around decent show. And there's other people here in the IWC who saying it sucked and the show was shit, and don't listen to them. All they are is negativity. I mean, if all they're gonna do is trash it, why do they freaking watch it? But this was my first podcast. There's gonna be many to come. Y'all have a good night, and please like and subscribe to my channel.